Have you ever stopped to think about one of the biggest puzzles in all of human history? For thousands and thousands of years, progress just crawled. And then suddenly, everything exploded. Today, we're diving into how innovation really sparks economies. I mean, really think about it. For most of history, life for your great-great-great-grandparents wasn't all that different from their great-great-great-grandparents. Economic growth was basically a flat line. Then, just a couple of hundred years ago, someone flipped a switch. The question is, what was that switch? And you can see it right here. Just look at this graph. For almost 2,000 years, that line is painfully, stubbornly flat. And then, boom. Around 1800, it just goes vertical. It's a hockey stick of human progress. This isn't just a little bit of growth, it's an economic big bang. And figuring out why it happened is everything. So, how do we make sense of this great leap? Well, thankfully, we can turn to the brilliant work of several economists whose research gives us the key to unlocking this very mystery. Their ideas explain how this kind of insane, sustained growth actually happens. We're going to be looking at the ideas of Joel Mackay, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt. You can think of them as the architects of our modern understanding of growth. Together, their work builds this incredible framework that shows how ideas, knowledge, and pure innovation are the real engines of the economy. Let's start at the beginning with Joel Mackay. His work is all about that initial spark. What were the essential ingredients that had to be in the pot, ready to go, to ignite something as massive as the Industrial Revolution? Mackay's big idea centers on this concept he calls useful knowledge. And it's so important. He argues that for progress to really take off and keep going, you can't just have a few smart people with good ideas. No, you need this powerful mix of understanding why something works and knowing how to actually build it. Okay, so he breaks useful knowledge into two parts, and this is crucial. On one side, you have propositional knowledge. That's the why. It's the science, the theory, the grand blueprint of how the world works. But then you have prescriptive knowledge. That's the how. That's the engineer's manual, the hands-on skill, the secret sauce that actually brings an idea to life. Here's the perfect example to make this click. Leonardo da Vinci. The guy drew up a design for a helicopter. That's brilliant propositional knowledge, right? He had the blueprint. But it stayed a drawing for over 400 years. Why? Because nobody had the prescriptive knowledge, the right materials, the engine technology, the manufacturing techniques to actually build the thing. The how was completely missing. And this gives us two huge lessons for today. First, you have to invest in skills, big time. A huge reason the Industrial Revolution kicked off in Britain was because it had this deep bench of skilled artisans and engineers who could take the blueprints and run with them. Second, your society has to be open to change. This is a tough one, because innovation always creates winners and losers. We're feeling that right now with AI, aren't we? There's a real fear of job losses. But if you resist the new tech completely, you miss out on all the growth. Okay, so Mackay gave us the spark, but what keeps that fire from fizzling out? How does growth become a sustained, roaring engine? Well, that's where Aghion and Howitt come in. Their work explains the machine that keeps the fire of innovation burning, generation after generation. And they built their model around this absolutely powerful and kind of brutal idea called creative destruction. It's this constant churning process where new, better innovations come along and just completely replace the old ways of doing things. It's creative because it pushes us forward, but it's destructive because entire industries can get wiped out in the process. And this whole process happens in massive waves. You can just look back through history and see it. First, it was water and steam power. Then came electricity and the automobile, which changed everything. Then the digital revolution with the internet. And right now, we're living through the start of the next giant wave: AI, robotics, and clean energy. Each wave rises up and creatively destroys the one that came before it. We see this stuff all around us, even in our own lifetimes. I mean, think about it. Cars didn't just improve the horse-drawn carriage, they made it obsolete. The calculator app on your phone destroyed the market for physical calculators. And look at data storage, floppy disks to CDs to USB drives, and now the cloud. It's a relentless, non-stop cycle. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. This process is not smooth or automatic. It creates a ton of resistance. The companies that are profiting from the old technology, they're gonna fight like hell to stop the new thing from taking over. And this quote just nails it. For growth to really be sustained, a society has to be willing to stomach all that disruption. So this isn't just a cool history lesson. This stuff has direct real-world implications for us, right now. How do we take these theories and actually use them to make good policy and spark the next wave of growth? Let's get practical. So here's one of the biggest questions that Adjian and Howitt's model helps us tackle: R&D. Should the government be pumping money into research and development, or should it just step back and let the free market do its thing? Well, their work shows the answer is, well, it's complicated. It's a really delicate balancing act. On the one hand, yeah, governments absolutely should subsidize R&D for the huge, risky, game-changing stuff. Think about early research into solar power. Private companies might not have taken that risk on their own. But on the other hand, you probably shouldn't subsidize companies that are already in a frantic race to make tiny improvements, like creating a smartphone that's just a little bit faster. The market is already giving them all the motivation they need. Okay, let's pull all of this together. The recipe for long-term, sustained growth seems to have a few key ingredients. You've got to invest in the hands-on skills to turn theory into reality. You need to build a culture that's resilient and open to change. You have to be smart and strategic about when and how you support R&D. And maybe most importantly, you have to embrace the messy, chaotic, but incredibly powerful engine of creative destruction. And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. These incredible theories helped us understand the industrial and digital revolutions. But right now, as we stand on the edge of another gigantic wave of creative destruction, this one driven by AI and clean energy, are we actually ready? Are our policies, our institutions, and even our own mindsets prepared for what's coming next?